I could do a t-shirt. Send me the clip.
A
First one
worn
is send me...
Dan Mitri t-shirt.
Ooh, no, don't want that. Don't want that.
Overnight.
Dan and I will work on our motorcycles, and he'll take that shirt, put it in a zip bag, and send it.
Look, it'll be a clean shirt. It'll be a clean,
I feel like
unworn shirt.
Jeff's fantasy.
This is getting out of proportion.
I know, right? Yeah, it's starting to come out here.
I don't think people say that, Dan.
Hey,
I don't
I
think
like my phrases,
people do
okay?
not
And
say,
people appreciate my phrases.
Burr the brand. I don't think that's
It's a very ancient type of way of saying things.
You understood what I was talking
That's a
about.
Mitriism is what that is.
All right.
Whoa, dudes and dudettes, it's Dan Mitre, totally the community manager for Battlefield 1, here to talk to you about the latest patch to our game, which is called the February... No, wait, I forgot. Even though we are doing monthly updates, we're not flaunting them as such, because then you'll figure out why they're so devoid of actual fixes. But it's called the Apocalypse Update after the DLC of the same name, even though we just released the second part of the third DLC installment only 3 weeks ago, which is why on live stream we had an empty server for the time being when we started it up.
So I know Nixie's over here is like, you know what we're watching now would not make good stream content. Nothing's happening. We're not playing intentionally an empty server. We're waiting for people to join. You know, the build just got deployed today.
This means that you'll know we mailed it in for this last DLC, which, even though there's 5 new maps, 2 of them are exclusive to the new Air Assault game mode, and the other 3 are for players that don't like playing Top Gun in an FPS. Crazy, yo. Oh, and there's no operations in this DLC like in the other packs either, because we ran out of time and shit. We even admitted it on the live stream.
This is something people are asking for, right? They want to know why didn't we do operations in this expansion pack? So there's 2 reasons, and I'll be honest. The first one, there just wasn't a lot of time for us to do that. From the time that we released the last expansion, which was up to last month, there wasn't a lot of time for us to be able to also make this to get that operation in.
Oh, and of those 3 maps that aren't bogus, Passchendaele is basically Storm of the Steel from the single player with Les Gray and Verdun Heights in the backdrop, and is the only map that you can play regular Conquest on and not Conquest Assault, because you guys love getting spawn trapped and or base raping people, right? River Somme is a non-snowy version of Galicia, flatter than Kristen Bell, because you guys wanted more trench maps and realism, and now we finally delivered in the DLC packs, but only if you somehow manage to make it out of your own spawn to get past the first objective to the actual trenches that we put in. Total bummer, bro. Caporetto is a more lopsided, less colorful Mont Grappa, where even though the attackers are on the top of a mountain to start off the match, they still face an uphill battle getting out of their own spawn. Now onto the air maps, which the design doesn't matter since map flow is as non-existent as someone with a prostate problem. Razor's Edge is ripped straight from the campaign map Friends in High Places and London Calling, named after my favorite album of all time from The Clash, has so much fog on it that it doesn't even matter if we reused assets for the city down below underneath. You guys can clearly see the lack of effort that went into this DLC pack released so soon after the last one, which is why most of the maps are almost ripped straight out of the campaign, but nobody plays the single player anyways, so we're all good, right? This is also what happens when only 2 DLC packs were released after 11 months of the game being out, so we had to rush the others before the game got more stale than crouton bread. So that this way we can hype up Battlefield 2018 without it interfering with Battlefield 1. In addition to the new air mode and air maps, there's 2 new bombers available, which means there hasn't been any new land vehicles since the second DLC, homie. And there's also a new gadget for the assault class to take down those airplanes, the AA rocket gun, which is basically what happened when a rocket gun had an ugly one-night stand with an AA stationary weapon. Gnarly, dude. There's also 2 new weapons available for each class, and of course by that I mean 1 actual weapon with 2 variants to pad out the content in this empty vessel, but for this time the weapon assignments aren't more annoying than Fergie's rendition of the national anthem at the NBA All-Star Game. The RSC for the assault class is only 9 bullets and a mag for an SMG, meaning that you'll be reloading more than a perennially bad sports franchise at the trading deadline. The Howl for medics is an iron sight that's worse looking than Lizzie Velasquez. The IMG 0818 for support is just a shittier version of the MG 0818 that's already in the game on the Sentry kit. How's that for lazy? And for scouts, this time there's actually a sniper rifle with a scope and one without it, unlike the last DLC, if you feel like having a tough time, like surfing during a storm. Hang 10, fam. Speaking of giving yourself a rough go, we're introducing anti-perks. They're detriments called afflictions, and they're even more shitty than the clothing brand.
I think it was a clothing brand with like
thing?
studs and jewels afflictions.
And rhinestone jeans.
So if you do all the afflictions, you get the rhinestone outfit, right?
You get the rhinestone camo.
Kind of cool. So you apply these. This is
Kind of cool.
kind of.
It's
Cool.
like
And wait,
Jeff's
wait,
great.
you talk
Jeff's
about
great.
my movie?
Jeff's like, hey, that's great.
These are
Dude, Hot Topic isn't selling that stuff no more. Calm down. It's all right. But we can get you a bedazzler.
All right.
All right,
We
all
can
right.
rhinestone up the flannel.
Basically, you equip these to give yourself a disadvantage in the game, with the upside of having a cool piece of flair in the kill card when you murk somebody, and you do want to express yourself, don't you, Joanna? Death Toll deducts 200 points every time you respawn. Peacock will keep you on the minimap when spotted until you die, just like a teen's bad breakout. Scavenger makes you only carry 1 magazine per weapon, so you'll be juggling them like a bad circus act. Reaper will damage you 1 point per second, but getting a kill pauses the death timer for 10 seconds. And Paranoia, which is what happens when I get totally high, man. I mean, it forces you to keep your gas mask on at all times to obstruct your vision and make you hip fire only. For those players that already have enough misery just playing the game on its own, there's 3 new specializations. Awareness to keep enemies you spot on the minimap 25% longer. Slink to reduce footstep sounds, but good luck hearing them amongst all of the random explosions and screams. And Privateer to swim faster with a melee weapon in hand for those that like to flail around wildly in a shooter game. Tubular, man.
To some degree, people were saying it feels a little one note, right? Like it's just flying around and shooting. And to be honest, that is what we do in Battlefield, is we run around and we shoot.
Yeah.
Now on to the actual fixes, as some SMGs got tweaked with a nerf to the Rebby rolls and longer ADS time for the Hellriegel, but buff the Automatico and Machine Pistol MP1912 slightly, along with the SMG 0818, such that it's now the best weapon in the assault class, usurping the aforementioned Hellriegel, keeping with the DICE tradition of having the DLC weapons beat out their vanilla counterparts. Cavalry units can now heal themselves and horses through med packs without having to dismount, because stitching up a galloping horse isn't just for Dr. Pole anymore, and the horses have gas masks on, which is cosmetic only because they don't die in gas nades like us plebs. Have you ever smelt horse shit? If they could stand that, they could definitely do with lethal gas. We also had to make lots of fixes to the recent vehicles released for part 2 of the Turning Tides DLC, because somehow 2 iterations on the CTE and delaying that part from December into January, and by January I mean January 30th, wasn't long enough to test them out. But hey, let's just make that beta environment inactive for the foreseeable future, right? The sliding X point was also fixed such that you can't go around the map on your knees anymore like a hooker on a Saturday night. We made the end of round screens have some actual useful information on it, like score from flags and score from kills instead of squad spawns, which did abso-fucking-lutely nothing to help a team win. Whoa, that's nuts, fam. Speaking of game modes, now that we're actually doing operation campaigns all the time instead of the once during the October operation campaigns update, we finally noticed how shitty in the name of the Tsar operations actually are, so we balanced some spawns, vehicle counts, and flag locations. We also improved the stability of the following maps by removing some beepity bops and memory objects: Soisan, Priest de Tehor, Empire's Edge, and Sinai Desert. Wait, what? There's a new performance issue that happens whenever you bump the counter for working on the new assignments? Well, I guess that's how DICE rolls: patch some things and break some others. And by the way, no, Schwantz didn't edit this moment from the live stream. It actually froze when he said this.
So we have noticed that people are experiencing some performance issues, especially happening when they kill players. They get a spike in performance and it kind of freezes for a second. We are looking into that. We think we have an understanding of what the problem is.
DICE makes water bottles. Nope.
Nope.